Hello and welcome to Spooky Stitches. My name is Sheena Peril. I'm an Alder knitwear designer, and if you are a woolly weirdo looking for something that is equal parts wool and ectoplasm, then you've come to the right place. I'm filming this in chunks, I think is probably the best way to say it. I'm starting a new temp job tomorrow, which is Tuesday, so I'm just trying to get in one more podcast before my schedule gets upended again. If you're not aware, Not Magic Studios is currently on hiatus while I deal with some health problems. I'm doing a lot better. I'm thinking about when I might be coming back, but I also don't want to push things. So we're thinking about it. I'm hoping like June at the latest, but stay tuned. I'll be talking about this stuff more over on my blog, which also that's on hiatus, but if you follow it, then you'll get a notification when I post more information. And I also post updates on the community tab here on YouTube. So I am not the only one who has been sick lately. We had to take two of the cats to the vet in quick succession for two completely different problems. They are both fine. My credit card is screaming at me, but they were relatively minor, easy to fix things. I'm not going to go into it here because one of them is extremely gross, at least from my perspective. I don't want to spout that all over the internet. So know that they are doing a lot better and they are back to being cute and fluffy and cuddly and no more issues. So I'm going to do things a little bit out of order this week just because I went to Red Alder Fiber Festival a couple weeks ago. This is the first fiber event that I've been to in a really long time. The last one I went to was probably 2016, 2017 in Columbus. So it's been a hot minute. I really enjoyed it. I do wish that I would have had like friends to go with instead of just going by myself, but it was nice because I could kind of come and go as I pleased. I also would have loved to sign up for some classes, but due to the aforementioned temping, I didn't really have the budget for that. I was hoping I could add them on at a later date because the way Red Alder is set up is you pay for your ticket and that gets you in to like the demonstrations, and the vendors market was open to the public. You didn't even really need anything to get in there. And then you could add tickets or add classes on later because they were between like $100 and $200, and that just, it didn't happen for me this time. So one day, eventually one day. But that means I have some acquisitions for you, and this isn't even all of my acquisitions. I also got some patches, which I immediately put onto a baseball cap. I wear a lot of baseball caps when I'm out and about here in Western Washington. It keeps the rain off of my glasses, which I appreciate. So I have one that says like Mothman Society, and it's a little shield. And then on the back I have one that is just Mothman, and I got those from Northwest Fibers, I think is the name of the shop. But they're so cute. They had so many adorable patches and pins and stickers there, and I could have easily spent my entire budget just on patches and stickers. So I do have a couple of stickers here. This one was a freebie. This is from like, oh, what was it? It was like Geektastic Fibers, I think. This is just like their little mascot guy. And then a little yarn ball kitty. And of course I had to get a bat. And then this one was just like a freebie that I picked up because Madtosh is one of my favorite brands. And then I also got this year's patch. So I don't remember where those came from. I do have it all written down somewhere, but of course I did not grab that sheet of paper before I started filming, so it will be in the description. Now, as to the yarn I got, I did go maybe a little over budget, but it's fine. It's fine, really. Geektastic fibers, that's what it is. So these two kind of go together. So this is Superhero Sock. It's 75-25 superwash, 400 meters. The color is Saturday and it's self-striping, and it was $34. But this was quite fun. They have another one that's very similar that has some like aqua and teal in it that I actually liked a little bit better, but they didn't have it on a fingering base. They only had it on DK, and I limit myself for stashing reasons. I don't buy DK or sport weight yarn because I never use them, and when I want to do color work, I want to make sure that all of my scraps that I use for color work are in the same weight. So I either do fingering or occasionally lace weight, or I do worsted and Aran, which are pretty similar to each other. They're fairly interchangeable. So if it's not in one of those 4 weights, I don't buy it, because there's nothing worse than trying to plan out a colorwork sweater and discovering that your body color is worsted and the red you want to use is fingering and the multicolor yarn is lace weight, and then the blue is a DK, and then you end up with all these different weights of yarn and you have to figure out how to make them equal each other out, and it's really frustrating. So because I don't have a use for DK or sport, I just don't buy them. So this is another one that I got, and it's got some stellina in it. So this is Quantum Entanglement. The base is called Goddess, which is superwash extra fine merino. It's 15% nylon and 10% stellina, so it's a 75% superwash. And you can see that they messed up a little bit on their tag there. It says that it's 100% superwash, which that math doesn't work out. And it is named Thalassa, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not familiar with that goddess. I've been meaning to look her up and I haven't yet. And then this one is from Schmutzerella. This was the first time I had seen her in person, and I really loved her yarn. This one is called That Really Drives You Insane. They're a local yarn company. They're in Snohomish, which is only like 30 minutes away from me. This is the base is called Spectacular, and it's got some like a bronzy goldy stellina in there. It's fingering weight 438 yards, 100 grams. 75 superwash, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, and I absolutely love it. This was the gothy yarn that I was looking for. And then the last one I got, I actually picked up at a local yarn store that I'd never been to before. My local yarn shop has gone to online only, so I no longer have one, but this one is relatively close. It's local-ish, and it's it's called Fibers Etc. is the name of the shop. They're in Tacoma, and they were like 5 blocks from where the event was, so a lot of us ended up stopping by there on our way home. So this is Reiwa Fibers. The base is called Bloom, which is 50% Tibetan yak down and 50% silk. Oh my god, it is so soft. I love it. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, what I'm going to hold it with, but it's so soft. I love it. And you can see that it's my color. Shockingly, this one was only $26, $25.90, and the color is called Cerulean. It's 410 yards, and it's 47 grams, which seems kind of odd, but whatever. It's so soft. I love it. So those are my acquisitions from Red Alder. I have no plans for any of them, but I'm very happy with those purchases, and that's probably the last time I'm going to be buying yarn for quite a while, because as you guys know, I've had several acquisitions in the last couple of months, and I'm not like on a yarn diet or anything, but I'm temping, so I do have to be kind of careful with my budget. I do have 2 finished objects this week. One of them has already gone off to the recipient. I will post a picture right here. This is a rainbow hat that was requested by a friend's daughter. It is it's made out of this mandala yarn in the colorway Gnome. And you can see this is the leftover, and what I did is the color repeats were actually way too long for a hat. It would have been maybe 1 or 2 colors instead of a rainbow. So what I did is I would just like knit an inch, inch and a half with a color, and then cut it, and then move on to the next color. And so these leftovers I'm saving for when I do the remake of my rainbow sweater, and then when I'm doing the like big outer round of the circle, I'll be able to go back in here, take the cut bits, add it in, and then have a nice long repeat along the exterior edge of the sweater, so that way it's it looks nice all the way around from center out. My only other finished object is the Montreal sweater. I showed it to you guys last time. It was a sweater that I had already finished, but decided to lengthen the arms and the body because all of my hand knits were the same size, like the same sleeve length and body length. So I went back and I added about that much to the sleeves, and then for the body picked up right about there, so probably 4 inches or so added to the body. I did change the bind off on here. It was originally a 2x2 rib, I think, or was it 1x1? 2x2. It's a 2x2 rib with a pea-coat bind off, and I decided that because I was lengthening this and where it was going to hit, I didn't really want it to cinch in at the waist the way or cinch in at the bottom the way it normally would with regular ribbing. So I did a broken rib and then a picot binding, and it is flaring a little bit. I should block it. That'll help with the way that it's flaring, but I don't feel like it. Like I already finished this sweater twice, and I had actually blocked it recently right before I took it apart again, so I just don't feel like it. I've been wearing it anyway and don't really care. The next time it needs washed, it'll get blocked. It's fine. So as a refresher, this is a cone yarn of leftover mill ends that were custom blended when I was living in Montreal. came from LB Magazine. This is obviously non-repeatable. As a result, you're not going to be able to go out and buy it anywhere. But yeah, I have a color palette, and this is it. So I love this. It has some really good memories for me. It's nice and cozy, and I really like the additions to it. It was hitting at my natural waist, and it now hits right at the top of my hip bones. I would have liked it to be a teensy bit longer, but I was also bored of knitting it, and I ran out of yarn, so this is where we're at. So that's what it looks like. I am quite happy with it. I've worn it several times since I finished it. I'll probably wear it this week to the new job. Okay. So that's it for the finished objects. Oh, I forgot to grab one of my whips. I have been finishing up the Wednesday doll that I showed you last time. She has a dress now. I finished up the sleeves. I just need to make the collar for the dress, but I'm not positive where that project bag is at this particular moment. So next time. I'm going to take some nice photos of it anyway, and then I'll just insert them in the next episode. So let's see. First of all, let's go oldest first. I did pick up the By Pride sweater again, and I did the transition from the pink into the purple stripe. So we're now at about waist length. Well, actually it's a little bit above waist length, like waist is going to hit in the middle of the purple stripe, which should be maybe from here to here-ish. So I've got my transition done. It looks really nice. I've been pecking away at this. This is my knit in front of the TV project. And I really want to get this off the needles so that I can go back to casting on sweaters for myself. Okay. Next, we have the socks. So as a refresher, this is the first sock. And with this one, I redid the heel on this so many times. I ended up just going with a stockinette heel with slip stitches at the edges and then doing my regular like heel turn pickup for the gusset, because I was just kind of sick of it at that point. So these are going to go off to a friend of mine who will hopefully appreciate them. She actually really loves handmade socks. So, and then this is the second sock. I just finished the heel turn last night, so tonight I can pick up the stitches for the gusset and start working on that. This is the project that normally lives in my work bag, but I tend to prefer doing things like heel flaps, gussets, that kind of thing at home, and then I'll take them to work because I'm less likely to get interrupted when I'm working on them that way. And when I'm interrupted, that's when I stop counting and drop stitches. So this is going to go back in my bag for the new job right now. Okay. Next, do you know what this is? Can you guess? I'll give you a hint. So I started working on the first of the 3 Wednesday sweaters, or Wednesday vests, I guess. This is the first one that appears in, I think, episodes 5 and 6. and I've started filming a video about this where I talk about the storytelling that was behind these, how it was used in the show as a vehicle for the story, and also a little bit of information about the costume designer who I adore. Her name's Colleen Atwood. And so this is the start of the first stripe or set of checks that goes in the center front. I have honestly decided that because I am a knitter primarily, and because crocheting tends to be bad for my wrists, so what they did is they have like check panel, and then on either side it's a black stripe. I'm going to be knitting the black stripes instead of crocheting them, just because it's going to be easier on my hands and will hopefully allow me to make more progress that way. So this is Caron Simply Soft. It's the colors black and off-white. It is 100% acrylic. I'm just using single crochet for the whole thing. What else? It's a size J crochet hook. And I'm making up as I go along. There are patterns on Ravelry, but I like reverse engineering and torturing myself, so that's what I'm doing for this project. And then my last cast on is this. I am making myself a crossbody bag. So this is going to be the front, and then we'll have a flap that goes over because I still have 3 more of those magnetic fasteners left from when I made the dolls. I'm like, might as well use them. So I'm going to do linen stitch along the bottom just to make it a little bit tighter and harder for things to fall out. I've already got a little bit of a linen stitch border up here, which I then folded down and stitched in place just to give it a little bit more structure. And then it's going to have a linen stitch strap that goes with it. I already keep most of the stuff in my purse in little cosmetic bags because we had Ipsy memberships, so I have a glut of cosmetic bags. So I keep everything in there, so there isn't going to be anything small that falls out of or between the stitches. I used to make a lot of bags, and then I stopped using them because stuff was constantly falling out. So especially pencils, I stabbed myself so many times. So now that I have all of these cosmetic bags, everything lives in there, and it's just a lot easier to manage. Let me see. This yarn is Line Brand Mandala. It's not Mandala, it's Ferris Wheel is the yarn type. The color is Cotton Candy. It's 3 ounces or 85 grams, 270 yards or 247 meters. And like I said, it's 100% acrylic. They recommend a size 7 needle for this. I went down to a size 5 because I tend to knit a little bit looser because of my hand and wrist issues, and also because I wanted to have that denser fabric just to help keep things in and keep stuff from poking out. So that is where we're at with projects, with the whips, with the FOs. I'm not going to do knit tea this week because I'm so far behind on everything. I wouldn't be able to give you good information anyway. And there's no good news because most of what I was finding was that shops are closing and dyers are closing, and I just don't want to get into that right now. I am going to record the spooky story at a later date and add that in here. But let's move on to watch, read, play. So obviously I watched Wednesday when it came out back in November. I have been slowly rewatching it. I've been savoring it as I work on her sweater. And now it is an association in my brain that if I am watching an episode of Wednesday, I have to have a project in my hands, which is honestly kind of fun. I love it. So I'm rewatching that very, very slowly. I also started watching season 4 of the new Charmed. I'm giving it a try. Not sure how I feel about it yet. Can't make up my mind. The first season started off so good for me, and then it's been slowly sliding downhill since then. So I'm hoping that they bring the magic back, for lack of a better phrase. But we'll see. I'm still slowly reading Jane Eyre. I also finished listening to The Civil War, a Narrative. That was my bedtime book that I was listening to help me fall asleep. It was really good at that. Couldn't tell you most of what happened in that book. Really couldn't. I also just finished last night Phantom of the Opera. I've been listening to it on audio, and I read it years ago and hated it. I thought that it was slow and boring. I thought Raoul was useless and Christine was whiny and terrible main character. And then I was watching something, I don't remember what, I was watching something on YouTube, and they read the first chapter of the book. And hearing it read, I'm like, this is a lot more interesting than I remember it. So I went back and listened to the audiobook, and I do think that it does better on audio than it does eye reading. I still think that Raoul and Christine are useless as characters, but the story is good. I absolutely love the musical. I really wish that I could have seen the original cast. I still need to get my hands on a video recording of that. I think it exists somewhere on YouTube, but it seems to come and go. So I need to find that so I can watch the original cast, because I have the original cast recording and adore it. I've also seen it live when I lived in Columbus with the local group. I don't think it was a traveling show. I think that it was the local Columbus theater group that did it, which was really good. And then obviously I've seen the movie, which I enjoy. I don't enjoy it quite as much as the original cast recording. I think that their Christine is better than the original, but unfortunately I don't think the Phantom is quite as good. I'm sorry. I do still love him, but I just don't think his voice is quite as strong as the original. One good thing, as my health has been improving, is I'm able to get back into gaming. I was able to pick up Dreamlight Valley again when I was really low in December and January. Normally, you get those little serotonin hits from finishing the small quests that they give you, and it got to the point where those just felt like work, and I was not enjoying playing it at all. So I put it down and I picked it up again this week. I've been blowing through so many quests. I started the event that's currently running a little bit late. I think it's the 50th anniversary event. I started playing it a couple days late, and I have blown through all of the tasks for it except for one, which I am desperately trying to finish before it runs out, I think the day after tomorrow. So I'm obsessively collecting flowers to make a balloon arch. I've been going through and rearranging the village and like decorating different parts of the island, the valley, whatever you want to call it. I have completely redid my beach and added more decorations there. I'm setting up like a winter carnival over in the Frosted Heights. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with, I call it the Pride Lands, that's not the name of it, the Sunlit Plateau. I haven't figured out what's going to go in there yet, but I did a little bit of work over in the swamp and in the woods, and I got Mirabelle unlocked. I finally got Eric unlocked. That took forever. It is so hard to level up characters when you have to track them down and you can't hang out with them or do anything with them. So finally got that unlocked, and I'm just kind of plugging away trying to upgrade all of my friendship levels. I'm having a lot of fun with it now, and I've actually got a list of things that I want to complete in my village and things that I need to do that are not direct quest related things. But it's been fun. I've been spending a lot of time on that, and that's really all that's going on. Like I said, I'm still working on getting my health back on track. We've made a lot of progress in the last month. I have one more specialist appointment coming up in May. I did a sleep study, which was a complete failure. That was horrible. And then I've got I lost my train of thought. Obviously, I am still having trouble with like concentration and memory, but it is a lot better than it was. I've been remembering to do things like chores and remembering places I need to go, and when I go out to pick up groceries, I'm actually remembering to get everything that I was supposed to get, which has not happened in a long time. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end things here, and the spooky story this time is going to be as much a surprise to you, or as much a surprise to me as it is to you, because I have no idea what I'm going to read. But I will talk to you all later. I hope that you are safe and healthy, and that you have something cute and fluffy to cuddle with, and I will see you next time. Ciao.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our ghost story for the week. This week I am reading to you a section from Scottish Ghost Stories by Elliot O'Donnell. This book was published in 1911, so it is a little bit dated in the language, but it's still a good story. And the one I'm reading for you today is called The Room Beyond. I am cutting out a little bit at the beginning just because it's not really relevant information. All you really need to know is that our narrator is a young girl of about 10 years old, and that she is staying with her two aunts in their country home, which is known for its beautiful flower gardens. There's flowers all over the place, and it's just a very lovely, relaxing place, but also just a little bit odd. You're going to see her referring to a genie that she's hunting for, which is said to haunt the halls of the house. My relatives seemed to possess some phenomenal attraction for the sunlight, for no matter where they sat, a beam brighter than the rest always shone on them, and when they got up, I noticed that it always followed them, accompanying them from room to room and along the corridors. But this was only one of the many pleasant mysteries that added to the joy of my visits to Huntersley. I felt sure that the house was enchanted, that it was under the control of some benevolent being who took a kindly interest in the welfare of my relatives. I remember once, on the occasion of my customary good morning to Miss Amelia, who invariably breakfasted in bed, that I inhaled the most delicious odor of heliotrope. It was wafted towards me in a cool current of air as I approached her bed, and seemed, to my childish fancy, to be the friendly greeting of a sparkling sunbeam that rested on Miss Amelia's pillow. I was so charmed with the scent that, alas, I forgot my manners. I gave a loud sniff, and with the rapturous smile ejaculated, "Oh, Auntie, cherry pie!" Miss Amelia started. "Dear me, child," she exclaimed, "how quietly you entered. I had no idea you were in the room." "Heliotrope is the name of the scent, my dear, but please do not allude to it again. Your Aunt Deborah and I are very fond of it." Here she sighed. "But for certain reasons you would not understand, we do not like to hear the word heliotrope mentioned. Kiss me, dear, and run away to your breakfast." For the first time in my life, perhaps, I was greatly puzzled. I could not see why I should be forbidden to refer to such a pleasant and harmless subject, a subject that, looked at from no matter what point of view, did not appear to me to be in the slightest degree indelicate. The more I thought over it, the more convinced I became that there was some association between the scent and the sunbeam, and in that association I felt there must be where the mystery lay. The house was haunted. Agreeably, delightfully haunted by a golden light, a perfumed, radiant light that could only have in my mind one origin, one creator, Tatiana, Queen of the Fairies, the guardian angel of my extremely aged relatives. "Aunt Deborah," I said one morning as I found her seated in the embrasure of the breakfast room window crocheting, "Aunt Deborah, you love the sunlight, do you not?" She turned on me a startled face. "What makes you ask such strange questions, child?" she said. "Of course I like the sun. Most people do. It is not an uncommon thing, especially at my age. But the sunbeams do not follow everyone, Auntie, do they?" Miss Deborah's crochet fell into her lap. "How queerly you talk," she said with a curious trembling of her lips. "How can the sunbeams follow one?" "But they do, Auntie, they do indeed," I cried. "I have often watched a bright beam of golden light follow Aunt Amelia and you in different parts of the room, and it has settled on your lace collar now." Miss Deborah looked at me very seriously, but the moistening of her eyes I attributed to the strong light. "Esther," she said, laying one of her soft hands on my forehead, "there are things God does not want little girls to understand. Question me no more." I obeyed, but henceforth I felt more than ever assured that my aunts, consciously or unconsciously, shared their charming abode with some capricious genie, of whose presence in their midst I had become accidentally aware, and to find out the enchanted neighborhood of its mysterious retreat was to me now a matter of all-absorbing importance. I spent hour after hour roaming through the corridors, the copses, my beloved flower gardens, in eager search of some spot I could unhesitatingly affirm was the home of the genie. Most ardently I then hoped that the sunbeams would follow me, and that the breeze charged with cool heliotrope would greet me as it did Aunt Deborah. In the daytime, all Hennersley was sunshine and flowers, and, stray where I would, I never felt it lonely or afraid. But as the light waned, I saw and felt a subtle change creep over everything. The long aisles of the trees that in the morning only struck me as enchantingly peaceful and shady, gradually filled with strangely terrifying shadows. The hue of the broad swards deepened into darkness I did not dare interpret, whilst in the house, in its every passage, nook, and corner, a gloom arose that, seeming to come from the very bowels of the earth, brought with it every possible suggestion of bogey. I never spoke of these things to my relatives, partly because I was ashamed of my cowardice, and partly because I dreaded a fresh rebuke. How I suffered, and how I ridiculed my sufferings in the mornings, when every trace of darkness was obliterated, and amid the radiant bloom of the trees I thought only of the heliotrope and sunbeams. One afternoon my search for the abode of the genie led me to the wingless side of the house, a side I rarely visited. At the foot of the ivy-colored walls and straight in their center was laid a wide bed of flowers, every one of which was white. But why white? Again and again I asked myself this question, but I dared not broach it to my relatives. A garden all white, and assuredly an enigma, and to every enigma there is undoubtedly a key. Was this garden, which was all white, in any way connected to the sunbeams and heliotrope? Was it another of the mysteries God concealed from little girls? Could this be the home of the genie? This latter idea had no sooner entered my head than it became a conviction. Of course, there was no doubt whatever. It was the home of the genie. The white petals were now a source of peculiar interest to me. I was fascinated. The minutes sped by, and still I was there. It was not until the sun had disappeared into the far distant horizon, and the grim shadows of twilight were creeping out upon me from the neighboring trees and bushes, that I awoke from my reverie, and fled. That night, unable to sleep through the excitement caused by my discovery of the home of the genie, I lay awake, my whole thoughts concentrated in one soul-absorbing desire, the passionate desire to see the Fairy of Hennersley. I had never heard of ghosts, and hear its story. My bedroom was halfway down the corridor leading from the head of the main staircase to the extremity of the wing. After I said good night, I did not see my aunts again until morning. They never by any chance visited me after I was in bed. Hence I knew, when I had retired for the night, I should not see a human face nor hear a human voice for nearly 12 hours. This, when I thought of the genie with its golden beams of light and scent of heliotrope, did not trouble me. It was only when my thoughts would not run in this channel that I felt any fear, and that fear was not of the darkness itself, but of what the darkness suggested. On this particular night, for the first few hours, I was sublimely happy, and then a strange restlessness seized me. I was obsessed with a wish to see the flower garden. For some minutes, stimulated by a dread of what my aunts would think of such a violation of conventionality on the part of a child, I combated furiously with the desire, but at length the longing was so great, so utterly and wholly irresistible, that I succumbed, and getting quietly out of bed, made my way noiselessly to the corridor. All was dark and still, stiller than I had ever known it before. Without any hesitation, I plunged forward in the direction of the wingless side of the house, where there was a long, narrow, stained window that commanded an immediate prospect of the White Garden. I had seldom looked out of it, as up to the present this side of the house had little attraction for me, but all was changed now, and, as I felt my way cautiously along the corridor, 1,001 fanciful notions of what I might see surged through my brain. I came to the end of the corridor, I descended half a dozen stairs, and I got to the middle of the gallery overlooking the large entrance hall. Below me, above me, on all sides of me, was Stygian darkness. I stopped, and there suddenly rang out, apparently from close at hand, a loud, clear, most appallingly clear, blood-curdling cry, which, beginning in a low key, ended in a shriek so horrid, harsh and piercing that I felt my heart shrivel up within me, and in sheer desperation I buried my fingers in my ears to deaden the sound. I was now too frightened to move one way or the other. All the strength departed from my limbs, and when I endeavored to move my feet I could not. They appeared to be fastened to the ground with lead weights. I intuitively felt that the author of the disturbance was regarding my terror with grim satisfaction, and that it was merely postponing further action in order to enjoy my suspense. To block out the sight of this dreadful creature, I clenched my eyelids tightly together, at the same time earnestly imploring God to help me. Suddenly I heard the low wail begin again, and then the echo of a far-off silvery voice came softly to me through the gloom. "It's an owl, only an owl." With lightning-like rapidity, the truth then dawned on me, and as I withdrew my clammy fingertips from my ears, the faint fluttering of wings reached me through an open skylight. Once again I moved on, the gallery was left behind, and I was well on my way down the tortuous passage leading to my goal, when a luminous object of vast height and cylindrical shape suddenly barred my progress. Overcome by a deadly sickness, I sank on the floor and, burying my face in my hands, quite made up my mind that my last moments had come. How long I remained in this position, I cannot say. To me, it seemed an eternity. I was eventually freed from it by the echo of a gentle laugh, so kind and gay and girlish that my terror at once departed, and, on raising my head, I perceived that the cause of my panic was nothing more than a broad beam of moonlight on a particularly prominent angle of the wall. Heartily ashamed at my cowardice, I got up, and stepping briskly forward, soon reached the stained-glass window. Pressing my face against the pane, I peered through it, and there immediately beneath me lay the flowers, glorified into dazzling gold by the yellow color of the glass. The sight thrilled me with joy. It was sublime. My instinct had not deceived me. This was indeed the long-looked-for home of the genie. The temperature, which had been high, abnormally so for June, now underwent an abrupt change, and a chill current of air sweeping down on me from the rear made my teeth chatter. I involuntarily shrank back from the window, and as I did so, to my utter astonishment, it disappeared, and I saw in its place a room. It was a long, low room, and opposite to me, at the furthest extremity, was a large bay window through which I could see the nodding tops of the trees. The furniture was all green and of a lighter, daintier make than I had hitherto seen. The walls were covered with pictures, the mantel shelf with flowers. Whilst I was busy employed noting all these things, the door of the room opened, and the threshold was gloriously illuminated by a brilliant sunbeam, from which suddenly evolved the figure of a young and lovely girl. I can see her now as I saw her then, tall and slender, with masses of golden hair, waved artistically aside from a low forehead of snowy white, finely penciled brows, and long eyes of the most lustrous violet, a strange, delicately molded nose, and firm, beautifully proportioned chin, and a bewitching mouth. At her bosom was a bunch of heliotrope, which, deftly undoing, she raised to her nose and then laughingly held out to me. I was charmed. I took a step toward her. The instant I did so, a wild look of terror distorted her face. She waved me back, something jarred against my knee, and in the place of the room I saw only the blurred outlines of trees through the yellow window panes. Bitterly disappointed, but absolutely sure that I had seen what was objective, I retraced my steps to my bedroom and passed the remainder of the night in sound sleep. After breakfast, however, unable to restrain my curiosity any longer, I sought Miss Amelia, who was easier to approach than her sister, and, managing after several efforts to screw up courage, blurted out the story of my nocturnal escapade. My aunt listened in silence. She was always gentle, but on this occasion she surpassed herself. "I am not going to scold you, Esther," she said, smoothing out my curls. "After what you have seen, it is useless to conceal the truth from you. God perhaps intends you to know all. Years ago, Esther, this house was not as you see it now. It had 2 wings, and in the one that no longer exists was the bedroom you saw in your vision. We called it the green room because everything in it was green. Your Aunt Alicia, an aunt you have never heard of, who slept there, having a peculiar fancy for the color. Alicia was our youngest sister, and we all loved her dearly. She was just as you describe her, beautiful as a fairy with golden hair and violet eyes, and she always wore a bunch of heliotrope in her dress. One night, Esther, one lovely, calm midsummer night, 40 years ago, this house was broken into by burglars. They got in through the green room window, which was always left open during the warm weather. We, my mother, your Aunt Deborah, and I, were awakened by a loud shriek for help. Recognizing Alicia's voice, we instantly flew out of bed, and summoning the servants, tore to the green room as fast as we could. To our horror, the door was locked, and before we could break the lock, the ruffians had murdered her. They escaped through the window and were never caught. My mother, your great-grandmother, had that part of the house pulled down, and on the site of it she planted the White Garden. Although Alicia's earthly body died and was taken from us, her beautiful spirit remains with us here. It follows us about in the daytime in the form of a sunbeam, while occasionally at night it assumes her earthly shape. The house is what is generally termed haunted, and, no doubt, some people would be afraid to live in it. But that, Esther, is because they do not understand spirits. Your Aunt Deborah and I do. "Do you think, Auntie," I asked with a thrill of joy, "do you think it at all likely that I will see Aunt Alicia again tonight?" Aunt Amelia shook her head gently. "No, my dear," she said slowly. "I think it will be impossible, because you are going home this afternoon." That is the end of our story, and I think that the last sentence makes it unusually menacing. It's probably just the little girl going back to her family for the rest of the summer, but I'm not the only one who thinks it sounds like Esther is going to meet a terrible end, right? Anyway, if you have ghost stories that you would like me to share, please do send them along to the email address in the video description. I have been trying to find more international stories. I almost used one from a book of Indian ghost stories, but the way they were written was just not terribly interesting. It was a very scientific type retelling. So if you know of any open source, or if you have personal experiences that you want me to share, please do send them along and I would be happy to include them in future episodes. In the meantime, good night. I hope that you all stay safe and healthy and that you have something cute and fluffy to cuddle with. Ciao.